Today, we will be talking about a specific device, a few iterations of the same device, a device used solely to scar and disfigure women in a way that makes them, in the eyes of society at the time, less than a woman if they survived. It had a few different names and integrations like the biter, the iron spider, or just the spider, but for simplicity's sake, we're just going to call it by its layman's name, the breast ripper.
I'm Kevin Young.
I'm Dan Horgan.
And this is Torture.
Yeah, everybody's better now. Thank you. It looks at things. I'm the only one that didn't get sick.
Oh, really? Yeah, we got a head cold running through the family right now.
Nothing worse.
Yeah. Well, so that's the thing, that you spend 2 years in isolation from everybody. You know, you wearing masks, you socially distance, and so you don't catch the colds. And then all of a sudden, the masks are gone, and everybody's on top of one another again. And we don't catch COVID, but fuck. Catch a head cold the second kids are able
That's
to.
it. No immune system anymore.
No, you're not. Your body's not used to it. So all of a sudden you fucking catch them. You're like, God damn. So if you can hear it in my voice, it's a little, yeah. Started with the post nasal drip, and then I just kind of moved down to my chest. It's like, motherfucker.
Yeah, I was always very prone to that happening because of sinus issues and things like that.
I got sick every year, but it was one of those shows I could bounce back in a couple days. I've had this one for about a week. It's kicking my ass.
Wait, actually, do you have COVID? Did you test?
Oh yeah, we've all been tested. Yeah, when the kids felt like shit, they got tested, and I started feeling like shit, I got tested. It all came back negative. It was just a fucking head cold.
That's good.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely better than having COVID. Take the head cold, 100%. I guess, but yeah, it fucking sucks. And the shit of it is, I can't take cold medicine. I had a heart condition when I was born. So if I take any type, even non-drowsy, like Dayquil or something, I take non-drowsy cold medicine, I'm out.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. It knocks me and it's, fuck, if I take Mucinex or something, I'm out for 48 hours. I won't be asleep, but I'll be my head will be in the fucking clouds.
Sounds like a party to me.
Oh, I hate it. I can't stand feeling like that. It's one of the reasons I don't drink or do any drugs. I just don't like the way it makes my body feel.
Yeah.
I took some Robitussin one time. This was years and years ago, and I was sick as shit. And I have to be really sick for me to break down and take anything. I took some Robitussin a few years ago, and went and laid down on my lazy boy, and I kicked back, and I was half an hour later, I was hallucinating balloons on the ceiling, and I felt like I was falling out of the chair. I was like, God, fucking shit. And I felt like that for 3 days. So
you woke up and you missed the entirety of Trump's presidency.
Oh, God. How nice would that have been? Yeah, it was
it flew by for us on this side of the pond. Saying, scary quick, actually, for us. I don't know about you guys, obviously, but
yeah, well, we had to live it. Which I go, listen, I complain about that shit, but I'm a white male living in the Midwest in America. I got it made pretty well. So there's not a whole lot administrations are going to change for me, from one guy to the next. It's what it changes for other people. Doesn't really affect me any. I'm not making enough money to get taxed to the point where I'm broke. They're not changing policies that are going to change my life. So honestly, it doesn't affect me any. It affects.
Yeah. And you're not earning too little to end up in the bin.
Yeah, it affects everybody else, and that's what you worry about. It affects my, some of the stuff affects my daughter. I worry about her. And then you got our buddy Turner down in Texas and dealing with everything that's going on over there.
Oh, what's happening there?
It's pretty much so if a guy breaks into your house, rapes you, gets you pregnant, you don't find out about it until you're like 16 weeks or something like that. You go have an abortion, your rapist can sue you for $10,000.
But it's all part of God's plan,
Of course.
Let's not forget why we're all here in the first place, Kevin. We're all here.
True.
For our Lord and Savior.
You when you put it that way, it makes all the sense in the world.
Yeah. I actually remember I was watching a video. I was trying to find some details on a very specific guitar effects pedal, right? And one of the top rate videos that came up for it, I was like, oh yeah, cool, I'll check this out. Anyway, so the guy was going on, he was giving all this information about the pedal, and he's starting to anyway, and he kind of seemed to be when they kind of give you just enough to kind of keep you going in the videos or whatever and keep you interested.
Yeah.
And next thing now he turns around and goes, now before we continue, let's take a moment to remember exactly why we're here and you're at this video in the first place, and that was because of our Lord Savior Jesus Christ. Right? I was like, what the fuck's going on? Next thing he went into full on prayer, right? Full on prayer. And he's like, I would say close his eyes, the whole thing right now. Like, I'm all good for people being religious and all that stuff, right? But like, there's no forewarning as far as I was concerned on this. Like, you randomly go into this video and it's just like, and ever since then, I keep getting this freaking pop-up thing coming in as a suggested video for this guy who's with his like wife or some shit sitting in their kitchen table reading from the Bible. Like, it's always coming up as and I'm just like, oh, this is just, for me, it's just painful. You know what I mean? But again, I can understand. Like, I mean, it'd be a different thing for other people. But that being said, I don't think the sort of people I'd be listening to this podcast would exactly disagree with me if you're listening to this.
Yeah.
But
I mean, I guess it depends on the type of Christian you are. Some people might love it.
That's very true. That's very true. But sure, look, we all both know that Christianity was responsible for an awful lot of these things that we're going to be talking about throughout this podcast anyway. So
yeah, we'll get into a little bit of that today too.
Catholicism.
Yeah, that's the big baddie. So it's kind of surprising that you're not, since you live in Ireland. That's a pretty big Catholic area, isn't it?
Massively so, yeah. Like for too long, basically, there was a mixture of church and state, and that should never be the case, And now it's, I don't know how to describe it. Like, it's just far less of it now. Like the way to do the census thing every couple of years or every year, whatever. Like, our latest census is actually in the next couple of days. We have to fill out this big form, and they basically put down what religion they are and all this. And it's come back as non-Catholic far more, or like non-religious or whatever, like, you know what I mean, or other denominations and stuff like that. Like, like my cousin wants to put down Sith on it because Jediism is technically a recognized religion, so therefore being Sith should be as well. And but I don't know. But it's let's say like my grandparents all would have been very religious, and then my parents' generation, it are kind of where it started to decline massively, like where neither my parents really are, like they kind of are not practicing. My father definitely isn't anyway, but my mother definitely isn't practicing anyway. And then from there, then it just came to I'm just like, nope.
Yeah, my parents are Bible beaters, and but they're baby boomers. I don't know how you guys rate your generations over there. Baby boomers were do you have baby boomers?
We do, and I never remember which one's which.
So. Those are the ones that
I'm a millennial. I know that much.
Yeah, me too. I'm an elder.
I'm like a year off it or something.
Yeah, an elder millennial. The boomers are the ones that came after World War II. World War II people came home. The greatest generation came home from fighting World War II, got fuck happy, and then push out a bunch of kids, and I was a baby boomers, just the worst generation to ever exist. And,
Is it anybody born in the 50s then? Will it be? Is that what's the year gap?
Yeah, 40s, 50s, early 60s, I believe.
I'm gonna put baby boomer year range 1946 to 1964.
Yeah, and then you got Gen X after that.
Yeah, so my parents would be in Gen X.
Okay, yeah, my parents are.
Well, yeah, not like 57. Is it? That's hold on. Boomer 2.
Boomer 2. Okay.
Yeah, and technically, like, my father would be in Boomer 2. My mother, I believe, is in Gen X.
Okay. Yeah, my parents are
like a year now.
My parents are solid boomers. They're up there. They're. And then I got brothers that are Gen X, and then me and my other brother are millennials, and now I got kids that are Gen Z.
Yeah,
but
the worst.
I'd say boomers are the worst. They kind of ruined everything for us. And
would they say that we ruined everything, and we also say then that the next.
Well, that's always how it is. That's always how it is. The generation that came before you ruined everything. The generation that comes after you is making everything even worse. But honestly, the boomers over here anyway, they completely ruined everything for us. Because you buy a house then for what a person waiting tables could buy a house and have a family and support them, and now you have to have 3 jobs just to pay for rent.
Yeah, it's like the whole thing here where the average cost of rent, let's say in Dublin, is something like €2,000 per month, right? Yeah. It's one of the most expensive cities in Europe to live in, right? Uh-huh. And so it's about $2,000 a month, and to get that in a mortgage, your income, like I wouldn't get it, like we wouldn't get it, and we have a decent income between the two of us,
right?
And we would not get a mortgage for that. Like, there's not hope in hell we'd ever get it. Like, unless we had like 60% deposit.
Right.
Like I might push comes to shove, because I've never personally gone in on a mortgage myself, except for so like when I moved here, my wife already had a mortgage here and stuff like that. So I'd be labeled as a first time buyer, and we get special kind of compensation kind of thing. Yeah. Like a special rate, whatever. So it's a higher chance of me getting it, but at the same time, it's crazy. Like, the fact that people can afford to pay that, but then they can't afford then to save up for their deposits because they're paying that, and then they're told then they can't get the mortgage for that amount of money, despite the fact they're already paying it. So there's no way in hell you could afford to pay that per month. It's like, well, I already am, so
Well, the problem is everybody wants to go get Starbucks once a day. Save that money, you'll be able to afford everything in the world.
Yeah, who was that? There was some politician said that.
Many Republican politicians have
I'm pretty sure,
and money gurus that tell you, well, if you just stop getting that Starbucks every day,
somebody said it very recently. I think it was a UK politician said it very recently about how people could basically, but see, I know what they were getting at. Like, realistic, they're saying about that people, specifically like I say, millennials and Gen Zs, don't want to make sacrifices. I got friends who moved in back home with their parents, things like that, to save. Lived like paupers for ages just to save to get a deposit to be able to get on the property ladder.
It's a little silly.
See, our problem here, you see, is the fact that we eat full Irish breakfasts every morning, right? And that is so goddamn expensive that we just can't afford.
It's all the beans. It's all the beans.
I wish it was the beans. They're the cheapest goddamn part of it. So anything, the most expensive part is the pudding. As I said, it's the.
Well, no, because you're having beans twice, because you're having your beans with your breakfast, and then you're having your beans for your Starbucks that they're gonna make your coffee. So it's all the beans that are keeping you from being able to afford a house in Ireland.
Goddamn beans.
Well, luckily you're not English, and you don't have to worry about the tomatoes too.
Yeah, well, yeah, it depends on where you go for that now. I don't know. Actually, being honest, I don't know who. I don't know. I should have asked my wife that question as well. Would she have counted that as part of one or not? But I always associate it out with the English ones. So
When I looked it up online, a full Irish, it came with grilled tomatoes, but I guess it just depends on what you grow up with.
it's true. Well, actually, hold on a second. The son is here now. I'm going to ask him that number that called you, by the way, is a scam. Yeah, just so you know. Yeah, a full Irish. Does it have tomato or not? No. There you go. He just said no.
Yeah,
all right. And how often do we eat them?
Rarely.
Rarely. See, he hasn't gotten to the stage as well though with drinking alcohol where we mainly have them when we're hungover, and we mainly as a treat on Saturday or something.
See, that's something. That's something we have in common because when people get hungover here, they usually go to a diner and have a huge breakfast and then try not to throw it up later.
We did the torture / cultural indifference podcast.
Yeah, I'm sure this is interesting to everybody. They're like, okay, get on with it.
Well, that's the thing, though. Chances are there's far higher amount of American people going to be listening to the damn thing, so they're going to be like, "What the hell is this fucking paddy fella shiting on about now?" So they all wanted to know the epic question, the answer to the full Irish. And no, we don't drink Guinness all the time. Only when we're in the pub.
Only when you're in a pub. What do you drink at home?
Well, just the thing though, some Guinness drinkers, yes, they will drink Guinness at home. But, you know, I don't though. I mean, I used to be a Guinness drinker, but I'm not anymore. Really, like I drink like craft beers because I'm a hipster asshole.
Oh, so, okay.
Yeah, but mainly drinking non-alcoholic stuff nowadays because, yes, that's right, Irishman, non-alcoholic stuff.
I mean, what's the point?
Because I like the taste of it. That's the thing.
Oh, really? I hate the taste.
I like the taste of beer. I love the taste of beer, and I'd happily sit there, you see, and like have one with dinner each night because I like the taste of it, and really? I don't want to drink alcohol that much, you know. So, like, why else would you drink something unless you like it? Would you just put yourself through? Like, would you?
It was said to me when I was younger. Somebody asked me if I wanted some, and I was like, I hate the taste of beer. And he's like, oh no, man, you got to get used to the taste of it. It's like, why the fuck would I do that? Why would I go out of my way to get used to the taste of something I don't like just to drink it?
I suppose, you know, it's like most things. Like when your taste changes when you acquire.
I suppose, man, I could eat shit every day for the next 10 years. Eventually, I'd get used to the taste. That doesn't mean I'm gonna fucking do it.
Yeah, but I guarantee you, shit will never taste nice no matter what over those 10 years. You get used to it, but you'll never be like, I'll go for a bit of that right about now.
Oh, there's people down the line that will cover that might argue.
Disagree with that.
Yeah. Oh fuck. All right. Well, you ready to get into it?
Yeah. I did about as little research into this as I possibly could intentionally, because I watched a couple of videos and did a bit of reading up on Wikipedia and stuff. I have the Wikipedia that I had open previously, ready to rock and roll just in case, but I didn't want to overshadow your
oh no, you're fine. You learn as much as
effort
you want.
And
yeah, you learn as much as you want about whatever you want. Ugh, fucking head cold. God damn it. For some reason, I always imagined this would be the second episode we did. I don't know why. As there's a lot of other ones that I looked into doing. It was like, first one's abstination, second one's breast ripper. After that, I don't fucking know.
Just wanted to get the boob conversation.
I just wanted to cover the tits and let's get it over with.
Yeah.
Because this one, I'll tell you.
That's what she said.
If you get squeamish at all, and again, if you're squeamish for anything while you're listening to this podcast, but if you get squeamish at all, this one's going to be tough.
Yeah, I'm already kind of, after some of the things I looked into to do this, I'm already kind of a bit like, ugh.
Yeah. So, Dan, let's go all the way back to Germany, possibly France, the late 16th century. And let's say you're a woman back then. Dan, you're a woman. And you've met up with some handsome, established man. He courts you. You begin to have a physical relationship. You become pregnant because the lamb skin just isn't what it used to be.
So always somebody poking holes in my damn lambskins. That's what it is.
No latex back then.
Yeah.
So now you're going to need him to step up and be a father. You tell him, he denies that it's his. He says you're a whore and that the child isn't his, and he's married with a family. He tells you if you say anything to anyone about it being his, he'll deny it, call you a liar. So now you're on your own. A soon-to-be unwed mother, you've already told some of the people about the pregnancy. You were excited to start a family with this man. People started asking questions like, isn't he married? Doesn't he have a family? And many of your friends had seen you two together, so when he outright says that he doesn't know you, they let everyone know that it's a lie. So he says you bewitched him into a relationship. You practiced the dark arts and are of the devil. And all the commotion and stress, you lose the baby. You feel like your life is ruined, like it can't get any worse. Then a knock on the door, and there's a warrant for your arrest. The charges? Adultery, abortion, heresy, and witchcraft. The sentence? You will be subject to the breast ripper.
Say they're my favorite 4 things to get pulled up on by the cops.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they usually find a ticket on you. It's like, but what about all the adultery, abortion, heresy, and witchcraft?
Yeah. Last time I trusted a Frenchman. Bastard.
Yeah, I wouldn't have been a drama German. I wouldn't have had a problem with it. But those damn French.
But that's the thing. I don't think the German woman would have stuck up for that. They would have just beat some sense into him.
That's a good possibility.
Mm.
My mom's an old German woman, and she would have beat me. She would have beat him, and she would beat anybody else that said anything.
Yeah.
She had a thing called a wicked slipper. We have the slippers with the hard soles on the bottom. And she had one. She had one that had snapped like in half. So you pick it up, it's all floppy, and she used to chase us around the house and slap us with it. Called it the wicked slipper. It hurt like a bitch. Holy fuck, did that thing hurt? And when she couldn't get that, she'd grab a wooden spoon.
And when she couldn't get that, she'd get the breast ripper.
Oh, God. Oh. Yeah, so you walk into a room and you are met with about a 2-foot piece of iron bent in the middle, so the ends almost touch. It's got enough tension in the bend that when the ends are pried apart and something is placed in between them, they hold whatever it is like a clamp. Problem is, the ends have sharp iron prongs, like a pitchfork. Some versions have just 2 on the ends, others have 3 or even 4. But whatever's held in between them isn't just held, it's shredded. They strap you to a pole, to a wall, and then proceed to heat the ends up over a fire and get them red hot. Now, they can be used cold. They're just regular, they don't heat them up at all. And some of the iterations I looked at, they actually froze them. Like in the winter, they'd use them super cold, which I guess would probably work if they're frozen,
it worked
just as well as if they're super hot.
Yeah.
But I think it would take longer for them to cool down from being super hot than it would to warm up a little bit from being super cold, I suppose. But it's always
you probably have a higher chance of bleeding out, though, wouldn't you? If they're
cold. If they're super hot, they might cauterize. But I mean, I don't know. I don't think either one would be better or worse than the other, depending on how cold or how hot you get. If they're red hot, it's not gonna matter.
No, it all sounds absolutely bloody horrific. No matter what the temperature of it, it's just to give it a bit of visual context as well for people who are. I think it looks a bit like the Assassin's Creed symbol.
Kinda, yeah. When it's held upside down, yeah.
When you're looking at it, it's looks a little bit kind of like it.
And you will never play that game the same again.
No. Boob Ripper Creed.
Jesus Christ. All right. So when the device is set to the right temperature, your breasts are exposed. More than likely, they're probably already hanging out. And one of them is placed inside the spikes, like a metal bra of pain and misery. Then, as the red-hot spikes sear and dig into your flesh, they clamp it shut and quickly pull away, taking as much meat with them as possible. And this is done as many times as it takes to remove the breast, and is up to a judge or magistrate if it's one or both. So they can stop after just one, and then you walk around with just the one breast, which I don't know. I mean, obviously, pain-wise, having both of them done would be worse. But I feel like you could cover up the fact that your breasts have been removed
If both of them are
if
gone.
both of them are gone, because then you would just look flat chested if nobody knew you before that.
Yeah.
Seems like if you were a large breasted woman, equaling out two of them when only one of them was gone would be difficult.
I think either way, regardless of the number, it wouldn't exactly be an ideal situation.
Oh, it's fucking horrifying. It really, and they look. It's not just one of those things where it is horrifying, but the actual device does look horrifying. I'll have pictures up on our Instagram and our Twitter, and you can see them.
I was going to say, I think the simplicity of it, you see, when you're looking at it, is.
So you can actually watch a YouTube video of a guy. There's a guy who actually makes some of these old torture devices just for YouTube for fun, to show you how they were made, and he makes one, and it's, ugh. Yeah.
I've seen some of them. They look a bit like like metal deer antlers. Some of them do.
Yeah.
And it's they're kind of fucked up.
Yeah.
They're the kind of fancier ones where people are really embellishing the whole thing of like, I'm going to make this horrific thing, but make it look fancy. I think the normal one, if you just straight Google it, very first picture that comes up, that's the one that's on Wikipedia. Like that is, to me, it looks absolutely terrifying because of just, like you said, the simplicity of it. Like you just know exactly what it does.
Well, take a pair of kitchen tongs and tape some forks to them, and then bend the forks in towards each other.
Yeah.
That's pretty much what you got.
Thinking about it, would actually make a good barbecue utensil. If you think about it, without trying to
for pulled pork.
I don't want to. Yeah, like, I mean, I don't want to sound like.
But that's pretty much what it is.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of the word I was trying to say there. The guy was trying to not be an asshole, like you know what I mean. No.
Yeah. Just to reiterate for anybody, we're never making fun of the victims of these things. We're just, you have to have a certain type of sense of humor to get through these types of things. But yeah, it probably would work well for barbecue. Ugh. Sometimes some integrations of them were used on men, but instead of the breast, it would be like hung from a rope that would be pulled through a pulley on the ceiling, and it would be attached to the ass. And then they would lift you up off the ground until your butt meat just kind of gave in and you fell. But that was, I believe, what they called that was one of the spiders. There's, and from what I saw, they didn't use it that way too much. But it, you had options.
That's because most men don't have asses, you see. I don't. So
I got a big juicy dump truck on me. It's one of the reasons my wife married me.
I'm nothing but back. So shoulders, and then it's just the same thing all the way down.
Yeah. No, I got a juicy one, and the thought of having this thing dig into it doesn't excite me any, to tell you that. So that's one way they used it. There's also another type of ripper, but these were attached to a wall. Now, either the woman's breast would be placed, like they could either take the breast ripper and the regular breast ripper that you would see when you pull it up on Wikipedia, and they'd attach it to a wall and put the woman's breast inside up into the wall, clamp it shut, and then pull her away from the wall. Doing the same thing, they just wouldn't be grabbing onto the breast ripper itself. They'd be pulling away from the woman. Or, and I don't know which one is worse. Both have gone through my head several times, and I guess it's up to your opinion. But There could also be a series of spikes or nails set jetting out of the wall by a couple inches. And instead of the woman being inserted into something and pulled away, she would be pushed hard against the spikes and then dragged back and forth across the wall.
Oh, Jesus.
Ripping flesh away
No,
each
that's
time.
awesome.
You think that's what you think?
Like a giant cheese grater, basically.
Yes, pretty much.
Yeah, no, that sends shivers down my fucking
And
spine. Right there.
I don't think there's not really a way to only do one at a time. I think you're pretty much doing both at the same time, no matter what. I mean, I'm sure that they would take the time to figure it out, but
that plus more, like,
yeah.
No, you're all right. Thanks very much.
So obviously, many women would die from this, but if they did survive, they'd have to live the rest of their life seen as less than a woman, having their femininity literally torn away. This practice lasted until the 19th century, so not as long ago as what you'd like to think.
I think most of these things tend to be that case. I mean, I think we've only become what we consider to be civilized in the last 50 goddamn years by the sounds of things. Especially that damn French.
Well, the French were still executing people by guillotine when Star Wars came out.
Yeah, but that's usually deserved, though, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I guess that depends on your opinion on capital punishment and what deserves to be beheaded.
I'm sure we could talk about that all day anyway. So I definitely have some opinions.
That's a whole nother episode. We'll cover that too. I got corporal punishment and beheadings and all that good shit on this nice long list I have at work. I was going through that list. Just a little side note. I was going through that list, and if we stick to the one episode every 2 weeks, doing one episode per subject, which there will be subjects where we will do 2 or 3 episodes on because we just can't cover everything in one episode on certain subjects. But if we were able to do just one episode per subject, I have enough shit to keep us going for 11 and a half years. I told my wife, she's like,
there are that many forms of torture.
Well, because it's going to be, we're covering methods and devices, and I also have, you can't really talk
rom-com films, The Notebook,
all the Twilights.
Yeah, well, I won't say that because apparently they get better. I don't know. I only watched the first one, but
so
apparently the books are really good. But there's a movie I must look up and send you on the thing for which it should be classified as torture. We watched it because the young lad is at the age now where he wants to watch kind of more actiony films and stuff like that. And so we're trying to find the ones that are kind of at a suitable enough age form where it's like just the right amount of violence to keep him happy, but not so much. But there's this one where it's basically this English guy going to find his sister's daughter, she'd been kidnapped or disappeared, and it is some of the worst acting I've ever seen in my life. It is so fucking horrible, and I'm gonna have to look it up and send you, and we'll probably have to do that as a separate episode because it is that bad. Like,
there's a few movies like that.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure that'd be an idea for a separate one altogether the odd time. Just really crap films, like the worst films. Not this podcast about really good films, podcast about really crap films.
Yeah. Well, I can tell you from experience, the Twilight movies do continue to be worse. Each one, they are horrible. I married a woman who loved the books, so since she loved all the books, she had to watch all the movies. And I even went to the final movie in the theaters and regretted my decision. So when we get out of the theater, she's like, "What'd you think?" I said, "Well, the action scene at the end and the twist at the end was okay." So she started telling everybody that I liked the movie. She's like, "You liked the last one?" I said, "No." I said the fight was okay and the twist was okay, but
It
No,
had
I
10
did not.
seconds worth of redeeming qualities.
I did not. Well, the fight scene in the last I can't believe this is where this conversation went. The fight scene in the last Twilight movie is actually a decent fight scene. There's a lot of people, a lot of main characters that die, and it's actually a pretty good fight scene. So I was like, all right, this isn't too bad. And then there's a huge twist at the end where it's like it's all a dream or whatever, which but not a dream. It's like a vision or whatever. And they're like, oh, that's pretty neat. Luckily, because my wife's favorite character is killed off like very beginning of the fight, and she's jumping up and
Sweet.
down in her chair screaming. I was like, motherfuck, now I'm gonna have to listen to this all night long. And then and then it turns out to all be a vision, and he comes back to life, and everything's fine. I was like, oh, thank fucking God. Otherwise, my night was going to be long and horrible. But no, I didn't like the last Twilight movie. It was just like all the other Twilight movies. Horrible. The people in Twilight didn't even like the fucking Twilight movies. Robert Pattinson hates Twilight. For fuck's sake.
Face.
Anyway, we got devices and methods, and then we can't really talk about torture without talking about the people who used it. So I got a bunch of we got historical figures, murderers, and then it's like, well, I don't want to cut. Well, there's a lot of events, like just single events. So I got a lot of events, institutions like cults and religions, prisons, orphanages, and we're gonna do some little sections on how animals were used in torture. Not animals being tortured, but animals being used in torture. And it's surprisingly a lot of them.
Yeah, I think there's a few that are the really obvious ones in there that people know about, but then I'd say there are a few that are just really off the wall.
Yeah. Yeah.
Speaking about being off the wall, women getting scraped across walls. To tell you how much we like the concept of this actual episode is that we decided to talk about Twilight instead.
Yeah, yes, we diverted the conversation from this horrible subject to Twilight.
Yeah. The worst thing is I have to grate stuff when I'm making dinner later on. That's all I'm going to be able to think about now.
Yep. Oh, I won't be able to do pulled pork for a while now. Thanks to that.
No, I'm getting hungry just thinking of that now. Oh, yeah.
So, in Goa during the Inquisition there, the breast ripper was a common device used to sway those that were still on the fence about converting to Christianity. Many women had at least one removed, saving the other so they could still feed the baby. See how nice they are, Dan? They let you keep one breast so you could feed your child.
Very fair of them, I have to say.
However, stories go that women that still refused to convert would have their babies ripped from the tit, thrown to the ground under them, and then the ripper would be used on them while they stood above their crying children.
Dear Lord.
So all the blood and meat and whatever else came off with it is just landing on top of your baby. Christianity at its best. Yeah. So all the Inquisitions were absolutely horrible. We will talk about the Goa Inquisition. That's one of those historical events that will take probably more than one episode to cover. And when I think about that, all I can think, there's a podcast called The Bible Says What? And it's a former youth pastor who's going back through the Bible and reading all the horrible things that were in it and having discussions with ministers and people deep in the Christianity community. And he's like, tell me why the Bible says this and why it's okay. And he had a minister on there one time, and I listened to it while I was driving around delivering packages for FedEx, and I'd get so irate at the people that were on there, I'd have to turn it off before I ran my truck into somebody because I was getting so pissed off. And
they're trying to justify it and stuff like
yes.
Yeah.
And he had a minister on there that was like, look at Christianity. Look, I mean, it's spread around the world because it's a religion of love. And I was like, no, it didn't. It spread around the world because they were going around killing people who refused to convert.
Exactly.
What the fuck do you think the Crusades were? So,
brings us back to Assassin's Creed. That's like a fun little thing. So that's where it comes from.
It's what they call a callback in the industry.
Yeah.
All I can say is it's a good thing that we morally evolved away from these types of things and we don't do this kind of stuff anymore, right, Dan?
Yep, 100%.
Of course.
That we know of.
Of course.
Yeah, well, we don't do it here. I know that much.
Enter Sharia law.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So December of 2014, a 24-year-old woman was snatched up by the all-female ISIS group Al-Qaeda in Syria and was taken to a cell. The crime was either breastfeeding in public or wearing a see-through face covering, depending on what you get your information from. So I looked at a couple different news sources. Some of the news sources said she was picked up because she was breastfeeding in public. The other news sources says, and I believe she says, that she got picked up because you could see through her face covering. So, either...
I was going to say, maybe she was wearing a t-shirt that said, fuck Sharia law. Stupid.
Well, either way, the woman only called Batal said that they arrested her in a market under Sharia law and took her to a torture chamber. Now, they let her pick between a whip and a biter. She didn't want the whip and thought maybe the biter would be a lesser sentence, even though she didn't know what one was. So I'm going to give you these two things. I'm going to torture you with one of these two things. It's going to be this thing that you know and this thing that you have no idea what the fuck it is. I'm choosing the thing I know, even though it's probably going to be worse because I don't know. The devil you know is always better than the devil you don't.
100%. Yeah.
Well, they held her, put the biter on her breast, clamped it down, and pulled. Quote, I felt then that my femininity had been destroyed completely. We no longer afford to live this way. I was not the only one that was tortured with this instrument. There were a lot of women in the headquarters, and their situation was tragic. So like we were talking about earlier, wow, we ended up doing this stuff in the 19th century. Well, some of us have not, and it's horrifying.
It's just, yeah. It always actually shocks me. Like, I mean, you look at things to do with kind of, I think that part of the world, you know what I mean? Like the way it's, I can understand why they don't want to, or may not want to, kind of, let's say, catch up, you know, in certain areas of things. But like, yeah, so it's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
I don't care if people want to live in huts, just be humane. You know?
Yeah, I don't care what anybody does with their lives, or, you know, you do whatever you want. I have a problem with you forcing what you believe on other people, and that's exactly what's going on there. But that's exactly what Christianity did during the Inquisitions and during the Crusades, and well, pretty much forever. It's what a lot of religions still do. We'll talk about them on a different episode, I'm sure.
That's going to be a multi-part episode today because you'll hear me rant.
It's the one time. That's fine.
I don't talk too much, but my God, I probably won't stop.
Fine by me. Rant all you want.
See you, God. Right? Let's have a word now.
All right. Well, I think that's all the depressing I want to give to people today. That's all I got on the breast ripper. One of the most horrifying things that men have ever come. And you know, it was a man that came up with this too. There's no possible way in hell a woman, if a woman's going to come up with a torture device, it's going to be a little nut ripper.
Ball puller or something.
Which honestly, more men should have to use that than women should have to use a breast ripper, because
it'd be like a giant version. What's that thing? You know, they have like all the balls and string that tucks one and just.
Oh yeah, the fuck, what's the name of those?
You know,
things?
I can't remember the name of it.
I used to have one though. I know what you're talking. Yeah, it's like a pendulum.
Yeah, it's like the line of like 5-6 balls, and then when one hit, and it launches, your one up goes back. I can't remember the name, but basically you can imagine that, but like a giant version of it, and then your balls go in the middle. That'd be the torch, because then you get the shock going through it without the crush.
Ugh.
You imagine that you're like getting punched every time are flicked.
Flicked
That's
is
all they have
worse.
to do to us, you see.
Flicked is so much worse than a punch. Because a punch, at least you got the pain of the actual punch going in with it. But with just a flick, that's just that concentrated. That one area is all the pain is concentrated.
So what you're saying then is that somebody had to go out their way, right, and make this big iron claw rippy thing, to torture women. But for men, it was just whoever invented the rubber band, basically, and that was it. Like that's probably his original intention, was to torture men, and then somebody went, "Oh, this is really good at holding my documents together."
I imagine a lot of women in a room way back in like the Middle Ages, and they're all talking about how horrible men are, and then they keep getting sexually harassed and sexually assaulted, and then just one old woman's just laughing. She's like, "You know what you do?" And they're, "What?" And she just starts flicking the hair, and all of their minds just explode. Like, we never thought about that. And she invents the worst punishment in history is being flicked. For those of you who don't have balls, I'll tell you, the worst punishment is getting flicked in the balls. Oh, God.
Really, really bad. Like, yeah.
That's why having Tom...
Not that we're trying to bring down the severity of what we just talked about.
Well, this is what men do, though. We say, "Oh, well, that's horrible," but we have it worse.
Yeah, you think the breast ripper's bad?
Get flicked in the balls sometime.
Yeah.
No, that's why having a toddler is the worst, because they're just at that right height where they walk up to you and they bring their arm up and poof, just barely.
That's like having a cat.
Nip it. I've never got hit by a cat.
No, my cats like to use it to launch themselves. So if they're like lying on my lap and they decide to go running away,
oh yeah,
it's exactly, and it's nearly the same thing. Like sometimes they bound across. Like a couple of nights ago, like sitting on the couch and they're chasing each other, and they decide to come across us. Don't know why. They could have stayed on the floor. It's like, no, I'm gonna run across Dan instead, and both of them went like doo 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 doo. Oh. So it was like get flick 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 flick, and yeah, it was not too enjoyable.
My dog likes to lay on us. He's a lap layer, and he's not small, and he's very bony. So he likes to put elbows right there. Yeah. It's like, oh fucker.
Yeah, they have no concept, obviously.
Dan, why is it every time we talk to one another, it always comes back around to dicks?
I don't know. That's you. I always assumed that was Phil. It caused that, but it turns out it's not.
It's just
it's probably one of us.
I think it's just a man thing.
I was going to say poor K.
Because everything else in the world for everybody else is so much worse than what it is for us. So we have to bring it around to the one thing that's bad for us, and that's getting flicked in the balls.
Yeah. Or maybe just I don't know. Maybe it's a masculinity thing.
Yeah, I'm sure it is.
It's like, look at this book I got on guitar pedals. Penises.
Well, on that note, thanks, guys, for listening to Torture. We appreciate it. Credits for all of our reference material can be found in the show notes. You can follow us on Twitter and Instagram @TorturePod. And if you'd like to contact us, our email address is torturepod@gmail.com. Please rate, review, subscribe, and follow wherever you listen. Well, hell. All right, that's all I got.
We'll come back for more Irish facts.
Irish facts. The full Irish is a sex move, just so you know.
Yep.
All right, everybody, bye.
Goodbye. I have to say goodbye.